The Knicks and the Spurs are facing off in the 2026 NBA Finals, and this matchup is something that everyone is looking forward to. A 1999 Finals rematch. The last time the Knicks were in the Finals was against the Spurs, and now they have to meet them again. So what can we expect from the 2026 NBA Finals? Well, let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the NBA Cup game, the first matchup between these two teams on December 16th, 2025. And in this game, the New York Knicks would win the NBA Cup, being the first team to win the NBA Cup and make the finals in the same season. And one thing to note is in this game, there was no Deuce McBride and no Landry Shamet here for the Knicks. This was also pre-Jose Alvarado trade, so Guerschon Yabusele was actually still on the Knicks roster, even though he didn't play. And on the Spurs side, this was actually Wemby's second game back after a bad calf strain, and he played against the Thunder, but that was it, and then he played against the Knicks, and he was on a minutes restriction, as you can see, only 25 minutes in this game. However, everyone else played in this game for the Spurs, but only two players actually shot over 50%, and that would be Harper and Kornet for the team, so overall, a really poor offensive performance here for the Spurs. And on the Knicks side of things, you got a great game from OG Anunoby, while everyone else pretty much played about average, and then you also got some Tyler Kolek minutes in there, which is something that we're probably not going to see in the finals at all. But one thing I do want to mention about this game is it was the NBA Cup final. I mean, intensity and stakes were higher than a regular season game, and players were playing like it. You could feel the intensity on the court. The stakes were 100% higher than just a normal regular season game. And as you can see, the Spurs actually had an 11-point lead about midway through the third quarter and then squandered it as the Knicks took over and won in the fourth quarter by about 12 points. As you can see, a 12-point lead late in the fourth, so that's something to keep in mind. Late in the fourth quarter, the Knicks turned it up. But this game was 6 months ago, and it was before a trade for the Knicks, and there was injuries on the Knicks, and Wemby was on a minutes restriction, so even though it was the NBA Cup final, there was a lot of different variables there. But let's move on into the next game that they played. December 31st, 2025, New Year's Eve, the Spurs would win by 2 points, and the Knicks had a 19-point lead in this game, leading for majority of the game, and then the Spurs came back and took it at the fourth quarter, kind of what happened last game, but now the roles are reversed. And there's a lot of storylines in this game, but obviously the biggest one is Julian Champagnie, 36 points on 11 made threes. This is the Spurs record. Oh my god, 11 for 17. He took only threes. He was absolutely buttering everything. And another storyline for the Spurs is Wemby would have 31 points, but then he would exit the game with a knee hyperextension, and he would not return in this game. And it's safe to say that Wemby was having one of those nights. I mean, 31 points on 83% shooting. He was 9 for 10 from the line. He had 13 boards, and he was going off, and so that hyperextension knee injury actually took him out for the entire fourth quarter besides the 1 minute he played when he got hurt. However, the Knicks were also dealing with some injuries. Mitchell Robinson, Josh Hart, and Landry Shamet, again, do not play in this game at all, so they're missing a starter in Josh Hart, and then their backup big in Mitchell Robinson, and then one of their best bench players in Shamet in this game are all out. And the Knicks had to dig deep into the bench in this game. Ariel Hukporti, 14 minutes, Tyler Kolek, 15 minutes, Diawara, 6 minutes, McCullough Jr., 8 minutes, Yabusele, 9 minutes. They were digging deep into that rotation. And Jalen Brunson had 29, 4, and 8, but he only shot 41% from the field. He would have 8 assists on 1 turnover, so really good playmaking from him, but we could definitely see a more efficient and better scoring game out of Brunson. And back to the Spurs side, I marked up some of the things I noticed. Obviously, the Champagnie legacy game, only 24 minutes for Wemby. Keldon Johnson had a great game, 19 points. Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, though, disaster classes. But remember, no Josh Hart, no Shamet, no Mitchell Robinson. I mean, we haven't had a straight-up game through the first 2 games with these 2 teams where everyone's healthy, everyone's playing, and that's something to definitely take into account. And now for the last matchup of the regular season, the Spurs were actually coming off an 11-game win streak heading into this game against the Knicks, and the Knicks would win this game. As you can see, the Spurs held a little bit of a lead in the first quarter, but then the Knicks would completely dominate them down the stretch, leading basically from the start of the second quarter to the end of the game. And the only notable injury in this game was Deuce McBride, who was out. Everyone else on both teams was healthy for this matchup. And obviously from these screenshots, there was actually some garbage time at the end of this game. So that's the first time in the 3 games that there actually is garbage time. And Wemby in this game, only 1 for 7 from 3, 7 turnovers. It's obviously going to be hard for the Spurs to win if he's playing like that. He's going to need help from his supporting cast if he's having a bad game. But it wasn't just Wemby who had a bad game. Harper only had 8 points, Fox 7, Champagnie went from 36 to 3 points, Keldon Johnson went from 19 points to 3 points. So the only real help he got was from Vassell, and Castle had an inefficient 13. This is not a recipe to win a game. And the Knicks didn't even have that great of an offensive game either. They were just really, really good on defense in this game. As you can see, Cat had 14 rebounds, and then they also got a really good game from Diawara, who had 14 points. He was actually playing a lot in this game. He only shot 35%, but when you get 14 points from him, you got to take it. And comparing the two team stats, this is the first time we're doing this because, everyone's healthy. This is a full game. As you can see, the Spurs 22 turnovers to the Knicks only having 13, and the Knicks also getting 54 rebounds to the Spurs 41 rebounds. And so the Knicks didn't even have a complete offensive game, shooting 44, 35, 57 from the field. I mean, if you win a game with those offensive stats, you're going to see that you locked up on D. And so out of the 3 games that they played during the regular season, the Knicks would go 2-1, but after everything we've talked about, there's so many injuries and things that were going on. The only game I feel like you can really look at right now is the March 1st game, and that game was still 3 months ago. But with both teams being fully healthy, likely going into the finals, I think you can say if you're a Knicks fan, you would feel a little bit better about this series looking at this video and seeing how when both teams were fully healthy, you guys played really, really good against the Spurs. But over those 3 months from that last game to now, Dylan Harper, who did not really play that good in those games besides the Cup game, has gotten so much better and he's grown so much. I mean, he's a rookie and he's been playing amazing in these playoffs. You're probably expecting a little bit more out of him in these games coming up. And what to expect from Wemby in these finals after looking at all the games against the Knicks? I mean, he had a great game against them on the 31st when the Knicks were a little bit injured, and then he went out with that injury, and then he had a bad game in the most recent game on March 1st. But with Wemby in these playoffs, we've seen him have really bad games and we've seen him have really good games. So I think that's what we should expect from him, not to have a great game every game, but to actually have some games where he doesn't play that good. Now for the Knicks star, Jalen Brunson, we saw in those games where even when he wasn't the most efficient from scoring, he was finding ways to play make, and he has to do that in this series. If he's not scoring, he has to be the primary ball handler and the point guard and the playmaker, finding his teammates. This is critical for a series against the Spurs where the paint is probably going to be a very difficult place to score on with Wemby down there. Overall, I really feel like it's going to come down to the role players, as we saw the Champagnie 36-point game in the NBA Cup final, OG Anunoby having a game. I think we know what we're going to get from Wemby and from Brunson in these games. If we can have a role player game from one of the teams, like a Josh Hart or a Dylan Harper stepping up and playing better than they should, that's going to be the deciding factor in a lot of these games. Also, Cat not having great scoring performances against the Spurs, but he was doing the dirty work. We saw him get 14 rebounds in a game. If he can be a center like that, where he can be a big body in the paint to grab rebounds on Wemby and box him out and maybe take him out of some plays in the paint, Cat would be doing his job tremendously. And then if he can hit a couple threes, get a couple of assists, Cat could be a huge catalyst in this series if we can get prime Cat. Now I'm basically just talking about every player, but De'Aaron Fox has been hated on a lot in the playoffs for these poor performances. He has stepped up in some big moments though, and if you can get a good Fox game, 1 or 2 of those in this series, this Spurs team is going to be really hard to beat, because when Fox is on his A game, they're basically an unbeatable team. And one of the most important matchups will be Mikal Bridges and Stephon Castle. Both have had struggles in the playoffs. Both have had great games in the playoffs. If one of these players is playing great and the other one is falling, those are the edges that you need in order to win the finals. Also, Jeremy Sohan, you're the luckiest player alive, gets a free ring no matter what. I heard he was like ratting out the Spurs secrets to the Knicks. I mean, you got to do what you got to do to get a ring, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who do you think's going to win? What is your prediction for the NBA Finals? I can't wait to see it. Like and subscribe and hype the video, please. Love you all. Peace.